Okay, so Venom number 1.
Venom number 1 by Donny Cates and Ryan Stegman, J.P. Mayer, and Frank Martin, a stellar creative team. You guys are gonna, bring us through this. You guys move through it as you please, at your own pace. And I got a whole bunch of questions here from Twitter. Some of them I'm gonna interject throughout the book, and the rest we'll get to at the end. How's that sound?
Sounds good.
Okay.
All right, then by all means, take it away.
Well, I can start like this. I mean, how's this for a good place to start? This is kind of pre-Ryan being on the book. When I first started on Venom, in fact, the second arc that we did, The Abyss, was going to be the first arc. I had it in my head that I wanted to do a very quiet story about Eddie Brock first. And it was actually going to start a little bit different. It was going to start with Eddie kind of having just retired completely from the whole Venom thing and kind of living out in the woods and kind of being out on his own. It's going to open with him like chopping wood with an axe made out of his symbiote and like killing a bear or some dumb shit. It was real bad. And then went from there. And very, very correctly, C.B. Cebulski called me, and he was like, this second arc that you have planned, Rex? And I was like, yeah. He's like, it's got a fucking symbiote dragon in it. And I was like, yeah. He's like, do that first, dummy. And I was like, yeah, you're right. And so then kind of working and talking about the dragon of it all and the null of it all and all these things. I was talking to Jason Aaron, who's a buddy of mine, and an endless source of inspiration, an endless source of inspiration and help whenever I get stuck on something. And I was kind of walking him through all of it, because if I can get like the first 3 pages of an issue, I can uncrack the rest of it. But for the fucking life of me, I could not figure out how to open the first issue of Venom. And I was kind of walking Jason through it, and I said that the name of the dragon was the Grendel, and he was like, "Wait, but is it the Grendel, like the real one, like from Beowulf?" And I was like, "Yeah." And in fact, we're gonna go back and like tell that story and like show that. And he was like, "Well, those are your opening pages." He was like, "If you open a Venom number 1 on fucking Beowulf, like that's gonna get people to like pay attention."
Yeah.
And I was like, that's a good call, dude. It's a good call. So that's a Jason Aaron thing. You'll find that most of the things I do well are because Jason told me to. And so there's, on this first page, I don't know if you want to talk about, I'll say this. Translated from ancient Norse, that little like editor's note,
yeah.
That was such an enormous point of contention for us because that's not the language that they spoke. So like it's been now, people are going to correct me on this, but it's been a while since I had to research this. Beowulf, like where it actually took place, was like in ancient Scandinavia, and so like I think my original one was like translated from like Scandinavian, and they wrote back and they were like, that's going to confuse people, and I was like, but it's accurate, and they were like, just make it Norse, and I was like, I don't know if ancient Norse is a language, but. Okay, I'm sure someone. I never heard anything about it from anybody, so I guess it's fine. Do you want to talk about maybe the art of this page?
Yeah. So anytime that I open a new project, and a lot of times when I open an issue, I like to do something sort of a little different, like as though we're doing a cool opening credits scene in a movie. So that's why we have like the panels overlaid over the lightning shaped symbiote here. Yeah. And that was just like kind of a way of like, hey, this is something different, this is something new, whatever. And then I was really nervous during these pages, right? So I drew these pages with like the tiniest pencil because it had to be like the tiniest line I could get, and I drew the shit out of these pages to the point where like my hand was nearly bleeding. But these are also the first 3 pages actually are the pages that J.P. Mayer did to try out for the book.
That's right.
I wasn't familiar with his work, but we were looking for somebody, and we kind of run through the guys that you say Jonathan Glapion and Danny Mickey, and these guys are all DC exclusive. And I was like, I want somebody like that type of style. And Ricky Purdon, to his credit, was like, I got this guy. He doesn't usually ink in this style, but he sent me some samples that were in this style, and I think that's how he wants to ink. He just doesn't get to ink guys that, it works on. And so he sent me these samples, and I was like, I was kind of nervous, and I was like, all right, well, we'll have him do a tryout page. And he sent us page 1, and I was just like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
This
no, it was
guy's
phenomenal
perfect.
from the jump, yeah.
Yeah, so I was just like, yep, he's hired. Let's do it. And he's been freaking amazing.
Yeah, he's been
all the
killing
way
it ever
through.
since.
And I will say one other thing I noticed in panel 1. This is just like a bloopers reel here. The things in panel 1 coming out through the sides of the door, that was supposed to be smoke, but Frank clearly thought that was a symbiote.
I think that's a better call. I think it should be.
Yeah,
I
it kind of
think
works,
Yeah, it kind of way works. There's little like foreshadowing things just here on these first pages, including, in fact, our first cover. The lightning that plays out through this entire thing. If you notice, almost every scene that we establishing shots all throughout this have lightning in them, and that'll play a bigger role as we go on. I don't know if we can tip our hand on that yet, right? That's going back to the symbiote's origin with Null. I mean, the way that the symbiotes kind of lost their bond with Null in the first place and became what we know them as is because of lightning and because of Thor,
Right.
And Thor coming in. So that's all there for a reason. These you'll see this, something that Frank does in his storytelling is as the book starts to teeter over out of, and this will be in the entire run. As it teeters out of superhero comics and into the realm of horror, Frank highlights those by just filling red on the background. So every single time it tips over into horror, he starts to just drench it in red. And that's because those panels are tipping us and edging us ever closer to absolute carnage.
Yeah, he's unbelievable. He's He really puts a lot of thought into pages.
Yeah.
He will message us and be like, "Can I do blah blah blah?" And it's just gotten to the point where like, Frank, whatever you do is going to be amazing. Like, he's always asking if he can do something, and then we're just like, just do whatever you're going to do. We've never said no.
We've never said no.
Like, it's always amazing.
That's the thing, man. Is our entire crew, like the Venom gang, which is what I've always called it because it feels like that, top to bottom. Everyone is just so locked in and knows exactly what we're doing here. And
there's very little notes. There's no notes on scripts. There's very little notes on art.
I can't remember the last time we got a note. Yeah.
Right.
So when we get into the main, when we kind of get out of our little dream sequence, not really a dream sequence. He's connected to past like hive mind memories and stuff. On page 2, we get our first instance of the symbiote ancient language, which is a pretty simple cipher for all those at home. What that says at the bottom there is God is coming. And you can work that language backwards from there.
So we've actually, a number of people wrote in with questions about the language. A couple of them, Nate F. and Morgan says, can we get a rough translation of any of them? And then Benji asks, do you have like an English translation method? Like, is there a direct translation? Do you have a chart with all the letters and everything?
Yeah, there is. And how that worked was in the script, I said, I just wrote it in English, and I said, hey, get the Marvel bullpen to make this into a cool-looking language.
Nice.
And
all
they
right.
did.
Comics.
But
Perfect.
Yeah. And so, later on in the issue, you'll see God is coming when we see like the symbiote or the null infected of it. And then you'll say, I think the first instance of the word null is written in that language, and it's right before Rex detonates the explosive on Eddie's face there. So I mean, you can kind of reverse engineer it from there, but if you kind of just squint at it, it kind of reads in English. So to answer the question, yes. Now, one of the things that we constantly do in this book is, it's always kind of been my contention that Venom is the Batman to Spider-Man's Superman.
Sure.
Right? And so as a result, you'll notice that almost without fail, it's nighttime and it's raining in our books. Almost all the time. And that was a very deliberate thing on our end because we did want it. It is it's kind of our goal with this book. And Ryan's heard me on this spiel a million times, but the Punisher started out as a Spider-Man bad guy, right? But none of us think of him like that anymore because writers and artists came in and they made his world his own and gave him his own bad guys and his own like section of the Marvel U to kind of play in, right? Absolutely. And so that is our ultimate goal with our Venom run is we want to separate him from Spider-Man's very long shadow. And so a part of doing that is we wanted Venom's New York to look like Venom's New York. We didn't want to see Thor flying by or Stark Tower or any of that kind of stuff. We wanted it to feel like a world in which he encapsulates and he is very alone. You'll see in Absolute Carnage, I don't think it's any mystery to anybody that Peter Parker is in Absolute Carnage. I think that's pretty on Front Street, right?
I think so.
When Peter shows up, the tone changes and the colors change because all of a sudden Eddie is now, for the first time in the book, entering into the Marvel U. And so things start to kind of change around him, and he hates it. Like, he hates having to enter into that world. In fact, I think the door that he knocks on to go and speak to Spider-Man has 616 on it because he's entering in the Marvel U. And so you'll see that here. We established this as that.
Thank you.
Yes, that was a whole Ryan thing. It's not me. And so this is that. You can see here that like is a very stark contrast to a lot of the other books that you see at Marvel. We wanted to give him his own feel. So it's dark and it's dirty and it's quite horrible and alone. The page after that, unless you did you have anything to say about that page?
I mean, the page after that, it's just, try to make it claustrophobic and small and show Eddie at his very worst and, kind of play off of what I remember from Daredevil Born Again when Matt Murdock was all fucked up. So that's pretty much it.
Well, this is the shot that the Venom movie stole from us.
Oh, yeah. The next
with
page.
Him taking these pills and looking in the mirror.
Yeah, they totally stole it from us.
We invented that shot of a man looking seriously into the mirror.
Yeah.
The long hair thing. This is so much Ryan and I being 90s kids because some of the best / worst Venom books of all time, he has this long, gorgeous Thor hair, and I always loved it. And I was pushing Ryan the entire arc of this to get him in the rain and have him push his hair back and give us a like that sweet business up top, party in the back look that he was known for in like Lethal Protector. But I don't think Ryan ever did it, which is pretty irritating.
Well, I will say also something on these pages is I remember we had a conversation and my instinct was to make Eddie the ugly sort of McFarlane sort of bulky, meathead.
Very round.
And Donnie said, no, more handsome. And I was like, I don't see that. I don't know about that. So I was giving him some pushback. And I think that you'll notice as I go through and I kind of grasp things more. This is one of the things I also love about comics is how we can, Jack Kirby, the Thing, when he first came out, looked like literal poop, and then he became this rocky monster.
Or Iceman was a fluffy snow cone.
What's that?
Iceman was like a fluffy snow cone.
Yeah.
Before they figured out how to draw ice.
But I just slowly over time I started changing it, and we end up with a handsomer, he's still not like the best looking guy in the world, but now the way I draw him is
he's a leading man.
Yeah. And once you get the grasp, like, no, we this guy's a hero, So,
yeah.
I mean, I still drew him handsomer than I did in Venom Inc., where I drew him both monstrous and just totally disgusting looking. So
well, and these were conversations that we had just like over and over and over again, developing the look of our Venom. Our Venom might not seem that dissimilar than like what you're used to, but it really, really is. It's I kept on pushing Ryan towards make him look like a guy in a suit. Like make him look like there's a man under there. Because
Right.
I just thought, you lose some of his humanity when he starts to look like the Hulk when he's Venom, right? And at the end of the day, people love Spider-Man because of Peter Parker, not
Right.
because of Spider-Man or because of Miles, right? Because of the character underneath the mask. And I thought that was something that had been kind of absent from Venom comics for so long. Is we love the way that Venom looks and we love this style, but I love Eddie Brock, and he's such a character with such a fertile ground to kind of grow him into a little bit deeper of a person, of a leading hero. And so as a result, we push towards having him look a little bit more leading man, a little bit more sympathetic, and also looking like a man, a recognizable human instead of this demon under there.
Yeah.
A hero.
Nobody loves like the big bulky like the Joe Mad Ultimates Venom is so freaking cool. But if we would have
was
done
awesome.
that, it would have cheapened what we were doing because
Yeah.
he would have been, he would have just been a monster. And
Right.
to us, it's Eddie Brock wearing a costume, not
Yeah.
a monster. He's not a total he's still in there when he becomes Venom.
Yeah.
Well, absolutely.
Yeah, and it also, for lack of a better term, humanizes the other half of him, the symbiote, as well, because it's easy to get lost and we keep on saying the monster of it because that's how I'm only saying that because that's how other people perceive him, right? But like it is the other half of him, and so you don't want to demonize it too much one way or the other. I know that's ironic coming from me and the shit that I've done in this book, but you want to keep. It's a hard character to write because it's two characters. You're writing a team-up book for the majority of it, and so you want to keep those kind of straddled in as much of a reality, for lack of a better term, as possible. The book, to me, like the concept behind Venom, the central premise of Venom has always been a sci-fi horror premise, and it never got treated like that. It got treated like just a bad guy or a superhero book, and so we're really trying to do that. And I personally think it's fucking creepier if it looks like a dude with an alien on them rather than the Hulk with sharp teeth. That's
absolutely. Yeah, and I feel like so many times over the years that we've seen Venom, like when you see Venom proper, it's it's the big angry face, like you were just saying, Cates. The teeth, the eyes, the tongue, it's all there. But what you guys are doing here, and Ryan, you draw these faces that are so expressive, and you're putting them on Eddie, you're putting them on the symbiote, and it's those things I think that you guys are doing that humanize Eddie. That's what you guys are talking about here, and I feel like there's just so many different times that we're seeing all these expressions on both Eddie and the symbiote's face, and I think it's ripping Spider-Man's mask off in a fight, so we can get a little bit more with Peter. We're making the eyes emote and everything,
right? And we do that all the time in this book. I don't know. I do it all the time when Eddie lands or he's having a conversation with somebody. We always peel it back. Yeah, always peel it back so we can see Eddie. I think my favorite time that it happens in the book, and it's later on in the run, is when Miles sees him and Miles is so scared. And Miles is having this like horrible reaction, and Eddie just instantly pulls it back and shows him his face and is like, hey man, hey, I don't know you, but I'm not a bad guy. And I think it's to me an instinctual thing that I do in the book that I think it's just a thing that I think that Eddie would do a lot, so that because I don't think he wants people to be afraid of him. Unless he does, unless you're a bad guy and he needs you to be terrified of him. I think when he's talking to Peter, he's talking to his son, for God's sakes, or anybody like that, I almost always have him peel it back, because those teeth and that tongue and those eyes, that's the war face. That's the claws coming out, And that's a thing that Ryan and I talked about, is that like when the teeth come out, we always want that to feel like that's Wolverine's claws coming out.
Absolutely.
Right? Because that's the war face.
Yeah, that'll take us over to the splash page, actually, where initially, so we got the splash page here of Venom swinging through after the credits page, which was, a big moment for me. But initially, we had him with no mouth.
Yeah.
He was going to be completely, have no teeth there, and then we were going to.
We
bring
were
him out
actually
later.
the plan was the plan was to show no teeth in this entire thing until he turns around and is like null infected.
Right.
But it didn't read the way that we wanted it to. It read like a big beefy Spider-Man in the black costume.
Right.
And especially with this being our big splash page of like, this page very much is me, and Ryan's like a statement piece. This is what our Venom is. This is, in the rain with a bag and like with those webs, which we haven't seen those webs with him in a long time. And so, editorial kind of walked us back from the no mouth thing, because they were like, if you're gonna do this, then do it.
Yeah, we kind of. Yeah, I remember our reaction was more just like, yeah, fine, we won't fight him.
Yeah, all right.
Absolutely. And so after that, of course, we get this, which for some people were quick on Twitter to point out, some classic spaghetti webbing over here on the splash page.
Yeah.
Some classic touches there. The next page over, we get a little visit from a brand new Jack-o'-lantern and Grizzly, and let me find it here. Venomaniac brother HH, he has a couple of questions for you guys. One of which is that he loves Jack-o'-lantern and Grizzly, and wonders, why are we using Jack-o'-lantern? Why is he showing up here?
You want to know the real answer?
Absolutely.
Jack was the kind of the big bad of Rick's Venom run, and I kind of wanted to fuck him up in the first issue to show Rick.
I didn't know. I'm learning something right now.
Did you not know that? And don't get me wrong. Like I need people to understand that I love and adore Rick. I think he's a brilliant writer, and he's been a great friend to me. And I gun to my head, couldn't say a bad thing about Rick. But I am a competitive prick sometimes. And if I was going to take over this book, all I heard when I every fucking tweet that I got when I was announced on this book was bring flashback. Where's Flash? All this stuff, right? And I'm such a fucking 90s kid that I was like, yo, Agent Venom stuff was dope. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, those books were fucking dope. But Eddie Brock is Venom. Like, let's all relax.
Oh, absolutely. And you've got that scene a couple issues down the line where, spoiler alert for some readers, where Flash's essence gets to be reunited with the symbiote, and we get that really, really awesome Agent Venom scene. And
that was my I love you to Rick. That was my, because like, also we want to touch every inch of Venom's history. We want to touch upon everything that has gone into making this iconic character that we are so fortunate to inherit, right? Because without Rick, without everyone, without Cullen and Mike and everybody who has done this book, we don't get to do this book. So it is, sometimes it's a little poking fun, sometimes it's a little bit paying homage. In this instance, I wanted to show that, yes, Flash Thompson is dope and was a really great character, but it did take him about 38 issues to beat this guy, and Venom gouges his fucking eyes out in an alleyway in about 6 seconds. So
that's pretty
but it's not,
fucking
But
dope.
I also went out of my way to make sure that I'm stating that this is not the same dude. This is a different dude from that dude. It's just visually, it looks cool. And actually, what's awesome is that this guy, whoever the hell this guy is now the bad guy in Cullen's War of the Realms issues. And if you look closely at Jack in the War of the Realm issues, only one of his eyes is on fire.
Oh, that's cool.
Because fucking Venom, and I have a fun story about the eye gouging thing, which is pretty funny. Why are we using
eye gouging is always
Grizzly
funny
in these other characters? The God's honest truth is, I told Marvel editorial in the script, I said, hey, I need a collection of bad guys. Who's available? And these were the characters that were available. And that's the long and short of that.
All right.
You know what's funny? The kangaroo, he's on here, right? That's him?
Is that? Yeah, I think so.
And I went back and had to read some stuff with him just because I saw it. Like, I was looking up reference, and then I was like, I want to read that book. It's so stupid. Such a dumb character.
Did you read any badass kangaroo stories, Ryan?
No, there. I don't think there is such a thing.
Hey, you don't. Hey, you say that, and then Donny Cates writes a goddamn fucking kangaroo
Yeah, he'll bring the
book.
kangaroo and he'll be
Yeah.
huge.
It'll be
Yeah.
pretty sweet.
Kangaroo #1.
Yeah.
Go
Kangaroo
get it,
wins.
folks. Speculators, go get it. So yeah, you got this scene with them. Do you have any more to say about that, or do you want to move on to
Yeah,
Eddie snapping
let's
some
go ahead.
shots?
I'll just say this real quick. This
sure.
page was really fucking hard to draw.
Which one?
For some, the page with them in the warehouse. Look
Oh,
at all
okay.
that stuff I drew in there for something where we were just going to get rid of these guys.
Yeah. Well, but that's the gag, though, right? Is you think
yeah.
I wanted to walk readers down a path of in these first few issues that like, oh, were you reading a Marvel comic book and here come the weirdo bad guys and all this stuff and like this is what this whole book's gonna be about, you know? Is very much a bait and switch, and you sold it as if this was about to be our actual plot.
Yeah, I
You know?
mean, it doesn't work unless I put all the work into it. It's just,
Right.
I remember at the time being like, God damn it.
Gotta draw these boxes and shit. Who cares?
It is the most boring part of this issue, not because of your art, but just plot-wise. I can see if I was a Venom reader and I got to this point and I was just like, motherfucking the kangaroo and grizzly? Is that what we're doing? Is that what this book's going to be about? You know? But we needed to get to I needed to scare people, you know? And this is the first and last time that we've ever acknowledged that Eddie Brock used to be a reporter. He's taking pictures, which is not his job. He's not a photographer. That's what Peter did. I always say that Peter's an artist and Eddie's a writer, right? So like if they made a comic book, Eddie would be the writer, which is weird to think about. Anyway, yeah, I don't really have a whole lot on this. I'm trying to. I haven't read this since it came out, so I don't know what this is even about.
We can
Oh
skip
yeah,
that page.
I got a little bit of pushback from editorial on this scene. There was a note that came very early on that said that he should jump, like that Eddie should jump down there and start like breaking it up, and that's absolutely like the feint of all this is that like the lights go out and like like oh shit, Venom's about to jump on the scene and like do some shit, and the gag is like again this kind of goes back to that thing that I was trying to do when I did my pitch at the beginning was that he's kind of retired. Like he doesn't want to do it anymore. He has no interest in being Venom because he can't control Venom anymore, and so he's scared. Can you guys hear my fucking cat?
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you hear that? God damn it! Hold on,
Find him a mate or her.
dude. No, she just wants to go outside. That's a whole fucking thing. All right, go outside and never come back. Go on to the wind now. Okay. So, yeah, Ryan, you want to talk about? I can I just say I love. This is one of my favorite panels that you've ever done. Is this when fucking Venom straight paralyzes and this fool in the street? Panel 2 on this next page where he kicks him in the back. It's great. It's brutal.
Yeah, I was super excited about this page just to get to do that all black, lightning from behind. I don't know, that was just like, that's another one of those ones where it's just like, yeah, I know exactly how that's gonna look before I even draw it. It just had to be drawn then rather than like thought about.
That sound effect, like literally, what else could that mean? He just straight paralyzed this fool in the street.
Yeah. I have a
There's a lot
tendency to be a little brutal in the fighting, and people will
love.
say like, "Oh, he would never hurt somebody like that," you know. Well,
No, Spider-Man wouldn't.
well,
Venom-
I that's what I mean. I go overboard even when Spider-Man does. But I'm like,
No, there's a
you don't know
scene-
that they're actually hurt.
No, Ryan, there's a scene. Megan, my fiance, we were sitting on the couch and I was showing her all of your art for Absolute Carnage, that like PDF that we got.
Yeah.
And there's that scene in the diner when Spider-Man does that thing to those guys.
Yeah.
And she was like, Jesus, that's aggressive. And I was like, yeah, I know. That's some crazy. I was like, this dude's been drawing Venom for too long. Spider-Man's
Yeah.
straight going ham on some fools.
I think
So
he
again-
knows how to just not injure people.
Yeah, it was like a WWE kick. He's just real trained at that. So again, lightning. I really liked this scene because I feel like I always enjoy it in like Batman comics when we get to see Batman from how regular people on the street see him. You know, and this was actually this panel. I don't know if this is why Ryan did this, but this is why in the script I had him being backlit and you can't see anything of him. That actually came from a conversation with our stepson's actual father, Todd Mcfarlane. Who Todd and I we'll talk on the phone like 3 times a year, and he's the greatest guy in the world. And when Todd was talking to me about the art, and he was asking me who was doing it, I said Ryan was doing it, and he was like, "Oh, that's great!" Like, he loves Ryan to death. He was asking us about the inking, and he said that that like the best thing that you can do for Venom is to just make him this like black void. Like, that light should just look like it disappears into him. Like, don't rim light him, don't shade him, like disappear into the void. And I was like, that's fucking dope. And so like I tried to get that across in my script, and then Ryan came in and fucking nailed it.
Hey, Todd Mcfarlane understands Venom.
Yeah, I mean, guy gives you a piece of advice, you should probably take it.
Just real quick, I mean, Ryan, you've probably thought about it already, but like, how many times people ask you, Ryan, who's your inspiration? And how many times you say Todd Mcfarlane? And here we are. Todd McFarlane's like, yeah, Ryan Stegman's pretty fucking good. How does that make you feel?
Oh, it's fucking crazy. I mean, I've met him a few times now. Like, I sat next to him at a signing. I've gone up and talked to him, and it's totally surreal because of everything that he's meant to me.
Oh, yeah.
There's a few guys like that. Like Greg Capullo was like that for me too. I was just like, oh my god. I'm shaking his hand right now. And now I see Greg all the time, and he's just like, oh, hey, man, what,
Yeah.
It's so weird.
Yeah, I called Todd when I was kind of formally cast on Venom, and called him and told him that I got that job and that I was going to be kind of taking it over. And I asked for his blessing, to go and do it. And he gave it to me, obviously, and was very sweet, and he said he was very happy. And then he was like, so what are you going to be doing? And I told him like the whole plan that I told Ryan, and he was just like, it was it's kind of just a monster for us. That sounds crazy. And I was like, yeah, it's crazy. And he was like, I hope that works out. And I was like, yeah, me too, man. I don't know. He was like, those are crazy ass ideas, man.
Honestly, I feel like that is a lot of, at least just from my perspective, the sort of ground floor view here, I feel like that is what so many people start off with. Just their notion of Venom is he's Beast Spider-Man, like, big old monster Spider-Man. And that's about as much as most, I think, the general public understand about him.
Right.
And it's funny to bring up even legend Todd McFarlane is like, yeah, he was a monster for us. And I really think that that just goes to show the level of depth and the creativity you guys are bringing to this character that people think they've had figured out for however many years, 30 years now.
Well, it's not just us, though. I mean, so many hands have touched this character since the jump, like since Todd and David. I mean, Lethal Protector redefined him for an era. You flash forward, then Rick came in and redefined him for an era. There's all these people who always come in and have these amazing takes on the character, and he's I always kind of liken Venom to Ghost Rider, that like Ghost Rider and Venom kind of share this like the same space, that when they both characters came out, they were kind of just like a rad drawing and a cool like metal sounding name that no one could have ever imagined would be what they are today, and then just like, I think a generation of kids who fell in love with that character and the way they looked, the way they sounded, the way they were written, grew up into positions where then they could take it over. And so for like Ghost Rider, you have someone like Jason Aaron, who so very clearly grew up being in love with that character, and then Jason Aaron gets onto it. And like Jason Aaron's Ghost Rider run was a big influence on this run, because Jason came in and at a time in that character's life where there was still so much fertile ground for the mythology behind that character, and he came in and he just blew it out and just like was able to build this whole backstory. Jeff Johns' Lantern Rebirth is the same way. Jeff Johns came in and he used every part of the animal, right? Yeah. That was a huge inspiration for us, because people accuse us of retconning all the time. I don't think that we have that much. I'll cop to it a few times, but really what we're doing is finding little pieces of Venom's backstory and the symbiote's backstory that just there's not been any light shined on yet, right? And we try and use every part of the animal in so much as making sure that we state that everything that you've read happened, but then just trying to take all those stories and place them in a specific order and a specific placing them like dominoes where we can flick them down. They all lead back to us. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
And I think it is because Ryan and I are such diehard Venom fans that like people have asked us like how much research did you guys have to do for the stories, and I was like, well, I mean, a lot and none, because I've been researching this gig since I was 4. So when I started writing it, not much, right? I don't even know what the fuck we're talking about anymore. Anyway,
you know what we're talking
the
about?
eye gouge.
Yeah,
The eye gouge, really quick. The eye gouge. In the script, it is fucking the Red Viper Adorn treatment, dude. It's 2 thumbs in the eyes, like killing that fool. And we got a thing back from Standards and Practices at Marvel saying, absolutely not. You can't gouge this guy's out in the streets. No one was being a dick. It's just a Standards and Practices thing, right? And very proud of myself. I wrote them back and I said, what about one eye? And they were like, that's fine.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, okay, all right. But I'm so glad I didn't just say like, oh, okay, I'll break his leg or something. I'm really glad, because weirdly, one eye was scarier. It's weird that, like, because now he's looking into Venom's face as his other eye is being gouged out, and that's kind of more fucked up and way more metal. So I like it. I like how it turned out. And also, Ryan absolutely drew it. Like, here's
both
the thing.
eyes.
Yeah,
It's both eyes.
It's both.
In the second panel, you see both eyes, but then if you look at the splash page, he's covering one eye very clearly, like, see, Disney? One eye. We're good.
I even believe this. Well, it even says my eyes.
My eyes. I know. It might have been a late edit that we had to, like, write around. I don't know.
I'll say one thing about this page. I love how Frank colored the water underneath them red as it goes trails away from his head. That's so brilliant.
Yeah.
All right.
Absolutely.
The next
Everyone-
page, I know we have a lot of
The
questions.
splash,
about, so.
yes. There's
Yeah.
so many questions about this this incredible splash
there?
page revealing this ancient Venom look, the spiral on the face, the red veins, and the red spider emblem. Where does this design come from? That's what everybody has asked. Is where did you get this look for ancient possessed Venom?
This was more or less in the script. Man, I wish I had my script in front of me. I could just read it to you. I'll kind of add up all the pieces. There's a few parts of this where Ryan deviated in brilliant ways. So the little it's like kind of pockmarked all over him. Do you guys know what is it called, Ryan? The
Triophobia or trypophobia or something like that.
Triophobia or something like that. Do you know what I'm talking about? You're nodding your head.
Ethan gets it.
You can if you Google image search it, which please be careful if you do this, because it's fucking gnarly. It's this it's like these like concentric circles that like form in like people's skins. And if you see it, it can trigger a reaction in a lot of people that makes their skin crawl. It's trichinosis or tryptophobia.
I don't know. So it's people
Yep. Holy
figure it out.
shit.
Do you see it?
Shit. Yep.
So
Yep.
it makes your skin crawl, right?
Absolutely.
And no one really knows why. The prevailing theory, and if anyone knows online, please tell me. Prevailing theory is that there used to maybe be some poisonous plants that looked like that we've since evolved out of, but it still triggers that emotion in us. It still triggers that like creepy feeling. And so I wanted the symbiote to look like that over his entire body so that we could trigger people into feeling uncomfortable when they were looking at this. The spiral is straight out of some like Lovecraftian Cthulhu shit. What's crazy is that
Junji
True
Ito.
Detective, huh?
Junji Ito.
Yeah, that thing. What he said. True Detective was on at the same time as I was writing this, and I was like going down this rabbit hole of like finding all these like occult symbols and stuff, and that fucking spiral was all over that first season of True Detective, and I was like, well, okay, cool, yeah, right on, man. The thing on his chest is not a spider, it's a dragon, which is foreshadowing for the end of this thing. The symbiotes took the forms of dragons first and foremost. Again, trying to distance ourselves away from that spider theme, from the Spider-Man stuff. I don't know what Ryan, speak to like the kind of red tubular kind of veins and stuff on him.
That was not in the script.
Yeah, because that wasn't in the script.
I don't know why I did that. I think
looks
just 'cause
fucking
it looks
creepy.
awesome.
Because it looks dope. What?
I had no idea they were going to be red, and Frank did that, and he sent this page in, and we were just like, that's exactly what we had in mind.
Yeah, totally. No, I mean, it looks great. I mean, it looks, because that's the thing, is like without those tubes and like without that red that kind of emanates out of that dragon, it wouldn't look as infected.
Yeah,
right?
something primordial about it, like
Yeah.
very
it looks
alive about those veins.
It looks old, and I think the most important part of it is you take those eyes away, you put that spiral on there, you lose by inches and by miles. You start to lose the human in there. You know, that's not a dude anymore. You know, that's a full-on fucking animal. And what he's saying there is God is coming. That's what that translates to as well. I should tattoo that on me. That'd be fucking rad.
The spiral or the text?
Yes.
Fuck yeah, go for it, man.
Do the spiral on your face.
Get the whole dragon on your chest. What do you mean?
I have a Venom tattoo on my arm up here, but if you order a certain number of Absolute Carnage number 1, they're going to send you, this is real, they're going to send you a booklet of temporary tattoos, and one of them is the null symbol, which is the dragon, one of them is the spiral, and one of them is my actual tattoo from my arm. I had to like take pictures of my body to send to Marvel for them to like
Wild.
make a tattoo. It's weird.
I did not know this.
I don't know why my tattoos. I'm not the only comic book creator who has a sleeve. Like Jason Aaron has like 2 full sleeves, and he doesn't get the tattoo thing. Doesn't anyway. He's got a Viking thing going on. I guess he's not. His brand isn't.
Not as metal. Not as edge.
I don't know, dude. The writer of Thor's pretty fucking metal, dude. I don't know if I'd go around saying Jason Aaron's not metal.
Listen, I will fight Jason Aaron any day. Let it be known. And not
every
only
one of those days,
if only to be like, Jason, man, you're fucking killing it, dude. And then I'd let him punch me in the face, and it would be a blessing on my part.
I'm trying to figure out what the fuck this says in this next page. You know what? If you guys will just give me a second, I'll pull up my script.
Just pull up that script real quick. Want to make a note on the splash page. Jack-o'-lantern is only covering one eye, so the official canon is one eye. It wasn't both. You guys are in the clear. Do not worry about it.
That's right, Marvel censors. We're good boys. Don't get mad at us.
We do have a question about the following page. We had somebody. Let me find it here. I'm losing it now. But somebody asked. My apologies, I don't have your name in front of me. But somebody asked what specifically is being said in panel 2 of the next page.
Well, that's what I'm looking for my. I'm trying to find my script. I don't keep.
I mean, he's saying God is coming in.
He's saying God is coming in the first one. I'm trying to look at. I think that first word is null.
No, it's God is coming. He's coming hard.
Yeah, he's coming super hard. He says God is coming, and so am I. This is. I turned this script in on December 31st, 2017, at 5:16 p.m. Would have been cooler if it was 6:16. Okay. Venom Rex Part 1. What fucking page is this? I wouldn't even know.
It's 14 in the issue.
Okay.
That includes
all right,
the
so it
cover.
would be. Okay. Let's see here. You guys want to read? You guys want to hear the description for the Page 11, the splash with the thing on the infected thing.
Absolutely.
Okay. Splash. Venom turns around to reveal that, well, something is very, very wrong. The suit seems broken, like it can't figure out how to make the traditional Venom look. The spider symbol on the suit looks more like some sort of dragon, with the design of the legs now making up the bony wings of the creature, and the abdomen snaking down into a twisting tail. It should look messy, though, like more of a cave painting than a stylish spider design we know and love. As for the face, the teeth are all over the place, not able to stay in their place, not able to stay in the place they're supposed to be, and they are in rows like a shark. Instead of the Spider-Man eyes he normally has, Venom has a bizarre spiral-like design in the middle of its face. Again, very tribal and ancient. This should be menacing and horrific. The suit also has small holes all over it and rough patches. I want to make the audience skin crawl when they see him. Tryptophobia, blah, 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 blah. Symbiote also has taken on a blood red color here. Something is seriously fucking wrong.
We said red. Frank didn't do it. Still awesome.
I guess so. Okay, so on that second panel, he says, God is coming, and he says, Null is awake.
All right. Well, there's that question answered for you, faithful fan.
Yeah.
Whatever your name was. I apologize. I deleted your name. That's me being a shitty host. Well, awesome. Thanks for pulling that up. Do you guys have any more to talk about before we get introduced to Rex?
No.
All right. Well, then.
Or do you, Ryan? I'm sorry. I didn't mean to talk for you.
No, that's
introduced
good.
for Rex. Okay. So we do have a couple of questions here about Rex. Venom, the same Venom maniac from earlier, asks, what do you guys imagine Rex Strickland sounds like? For me, I picture Halo's very own Sergeant Avery Johnson.
Danny Glover.
It's Danny Glover. I mean, he's designed to look like Danny Glover. He is Danny Glover. In fact, His original name in the script was Rex Harrigan, and his name was Rex Harrigan because Lieutenant Mike Harrigan is Danny Glover's name from Predator 2, which to me is the best Venom film ever made.
That's a good point.
Predator 2 is Venom. It's Danny Glover chasing Venom around the city. And it's actually a movie that I watched for inspiration to write Venom.
You heard it here first, folks. Predator 2 equals Donny Cates' Venom run. There's no... It's already been adapted.
Pretty much, man. And so he looks like him, he sounds like him, talks like him. That's who he is.
Sweet.
Hey, I'm looking at this book right now, and I gotta say, this art's pretty fucking good.
It's pretty fucking good, dude.
Who drew this? I mean, JP Mayer and Frank Martin are knocking it out of the goddamn park. Let me say.
Yeah. I honestly, dude, I haven't looked at this since it came out. Like, because you and I spend so much time on this shit that I get the comps and I never really look at them again.
Yeah, I know.
But yeah, it's a good looking thing. And God, look at that incinerator. We really foreshadowed the fuck out of that incinerator for issues and issues and issues on end.
Do not forget, there is an incinerator.
This innocuous warehouse that has a working giant incinerator. I don't know why it has that. It seems like it was a good idea.
Or why it has amps.
Why he has amps in it. Well, it's, he's obviously... What's cool about this, I always thought, when this issue came out, people said... And I completely get why they would think this. People said that this was so obviously an issue written about Flash Thompson, and then we found out we couldn't use Flash Thompson or something, and so we subbed in Eddie. And I completely get that. If you read this with that in mind, you could get that, because this whole plot with Rex and the plot you think you're reading, which is ancient soldiers with symbiote tech, and SHIELD has been disbanded, and you got to go get these ex-soldiers out and everything. That's a great Flash Thompson story, right?
Absolutely.
But when you start to zig where everyone thinks you're gonna zag, which is that it's not about fucking any of that, and it's about the god of symbiotes, I think you kind of lose the Flash Thompson of it all. Not that Eddie's any more equipped for it.
Absolutely. I want to say in this panel over here, it's panel 2 on page 16. Is this? I'm trying to tell if it's the symbiote coming out of Eddie's eyes or the symbiote prying Eddie's eyes.
Prying.
Open. Okay.
Prying them open. Yeah, waking them up. Yeah.
That's pretty fucking metal, if I do say so myself. And
We do occasionally have the symbiote come out of his eyes, though, because it's just fucking cool looking.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when Ryan
Happens in a few
Stegman
pages.
draws it, let me say. So, Rex. Rex is here. What do you have to say about the character Rex? Besides the fact that it's Danny Glover.
What else needs to be said? He's fucking Danny Glover, dude. He's a national treasure.
So, was the twist with him planned from the beginning?
Oh, yeah. Let me just say, like, people ask us that all the time. Like, was this planned from the beginning? Was this planned from the beginning? Ryan, everything was planned from the beginning, right? Like, that first phone call with you went into who Rex, what Rex really is. It went through the Venom issue. It went through every twist in the Abyss. It went through every twist in Absolute Carnage. It went through Null's origin. I mean,
yeah, you had it all. It was all there. It was crazy.
Yeah,
it was
all
like
of this shit is.
It was like a beautiful mind.
It's planned out, and then like the arc that's after Absolute Carnage, the arc that's after that, and the big thing that's after that, and the thing that's after that. Like, I very famously went to my I think my first Marvel retreat, and got kind of endlessly clowned on because I literally. How the Marvel retreats work is there's like roughly 12 or 13 of us that are like exclusive writers, and we go and we sit in this like kind of round table with all the editorial staff and then all the like TV guys and the movie guys and the theme park guys and the merch guys and the video game guys and just like everyone, right? Mm-hmm. And then we just go person by person giving like book reports. So Jason will tell us, you know, what's cracking on Thor, and Dan will go through, you know, Fantastic Four and Iron Man, and then I'll do, you know, whatever the fuck I'm doing. And when I had to go my first retreat that I walked through Venom, I walked through 5 years of Venom, arc by arc, damn near issue by issue. And it was only my second retreat, and like CB was like, dude, are you when does this arc come out? And I'm like, this would be 2021. And he was like, you don't have to do it that far. He was like, just tell us like what's happened like this year. And I was like, well, I didn't know. And like, I think I talked for like 40 minutes, and that's not what you're supposed to do. Mm-hmm. But every retreat since then, it's never changed. It's just, that's the plan. And I knew what my entire run on the book was going to be, a few months into getting the assignment, like how it was going to begin, how it was going to end. As a result, it's kind of backfired us in a few ways that are temporary backfires. It is hard sometimes for fans to see the 50,000 foot view up, mm-hmm. to see the grand story that's being told. And so they will sometimes think that we're losing our way, or that we're losing the plot. But like I firmly believe that when this is all collected, and when we do get to our end point and we stick our landing, you'll be able to go back and see that we were always telling one big story, and mm-hmm. that every piece of it is important, and all of the things that you might think are like weird or fucked up, or like the Dylan stuff seems to be out of nowhere, or what the other like criticisms that I don't agree with that people have levied at us. It's just that they can't see, they don't know the shit that Ryan and I know, that like Devin mm-hmm. knows, that JP knows, that Frank knows, that Marvel as a whole knows. And so like people who are emailing Marvel and telling them to fire us, you're wasting your time. It's not ever going to happen. And if you don't like it, you can just wait for the next crew. But we're locked in. The story's not changing. It never will.
I'm ready for it.
Welcome to the podcast, motherfuckers.
Ryan, are you? Yeah, come on. They got a podcast now. They're not going fucking anywhere. Ryan, are you ready to draw all that shit? How excited are you, man?
Yeah, I mean, the exciting thing for me is knowing what I'm going to be doing for however long. Like, mm-hmm. You know, I kind of jumped around quite a bit prior to this, and you know, some projects I liked more than others. And this one, I just know that I love the project, and I'm just going to be doing this stuff that I love for, the foreseeable future, so I don't have to worry about anything. I'm just locked. I'm dialed in for sure.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Well, it's cool too, though, right, Ryan? Is that like as we get to talk, like so much of the time in comics, especially coming up in comics, it's always so uncertain of like what the next thing is going to be, and it's just so gratifying and cool that like as we're getting into Absolute Carnage now, and as we know what the arc after that is, and like the kind of the grand plan that we have, we're getting to all of it and we're doing it all, and so like the plans. It's so fucking rad to like talk about things, and then years later, like we're like, oh shit, we're doing that thing now. That's cool.
And also, I mean, if this book could have not done well, and they could have been like, but it seems to be doing so well that we're gonna get to do everything that we wanted to do.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is that like it could have?
Unbelievable.
Someone in the room, I think it was one of my best friends, Matthew Rosen, whatever. He was just like, that's a really big plan for a book that you have no idea if it's going to work or not. And I was like, yeah, but fucking plan big and then wrap it up if it gets canceled. But like, I'm never going to go in expecting myself to fail. You know, I'm always going to go in expecting, because like if I don't believe in the story, how can I expect anyone else to ever believe in it? You know? So like you always go in with expectations that that the book's going to be dope. Otherwise, why do it, right? But anyway, we're doing a director's commentary, so we always just get distracted talking about how dope we are. I always quite liked this sequence of two men playing their own game against each other while the symbiote plays its own game around them, right? Like the symbiote sneaking up on him, and this reveal that he knew that Rex knew it was there the entire time, and you can't sneak up on this shit. You want to ask, was this shit planned from the beginning? Well, how else did Rex know it was there if he wasn't a symbiote himself, right?
Yeah.
Spoiler alert. And by the way, people have asked me this panel on whatever page this is, where Rex is asking him all these questions about the symbiote and kind of dressing Eddie down about like, how have you never asked these questions? Like, how have you never delved this deep into this thing that's attached to you? And this scene, this last panel where he says, what's its name? People have asked me, have I forgotten about this panel? No. That's that long game shit, guys. Questions that are asked in the first issue that are answered in the last. So hang in there on that. And then these other questions, too. This was kind of a larger theme for me, which is something to me that makes Eddie. This is what makes Eddie, or what makes Eddie Venom to me, is that like every single time a different character has gotten the symbiote or a symbiote, they've always gone through this process of being fucking terrified of it, or at least being curious about how it works, or blown away by it, or shocked, or having some sort of a visceral reaction to having fucking in this like alien like invade your consciousness and all these things, right? And bond to you. Eddie got it a long time ago and was just like, dope, let's roll. And like, to me, what kind of a man is that? Like, that's what's interesting about Eddie, is that Eddie was not afraid of it at all. Eddie got it and was just like, fuck yeah, I'm Venom now. Let's roll. Right? And that's what Rex is talking about here. People thought that when this came out that I was dressing down either the readers, or I was trying to be like holier than thou from the readers, or like to like past runs. I was like trying to shit on past runs, something like that. That's not at all what's happening here. This is literally Rex asking Eddie, like, what kind of a man are you that you don't know that? Like, why are you? Right? And that's a theme that will go on into the beginning of the next issue, which begins with who is Eddie Brock, right? And that's kind of Rex's path here, is Rex was our kind of a conduit to try and get to the bottom of some of those kind of deeper answers about what kind of a man Eddie is.
Awesome.
And
Ryan, unless you have anything you want to talk about from this scene with Rex, I think we could jump ahead to Eddie's confrontation with a fleet of trucks.
Yeah, well, let's go ahead to that. Cause
Ryan, that picture
about that.
Of the soldiers was a stat, right?
Well, yeah, but they asked me to do like a really nice version of it so that we could use it for the cover for Venom #1. So
Venom.
Basically, Venom. there were I did drawing in there, and it was just kind of, it wasn't super detailed, and then they were like, wow, we should spend more time on that. How about if we do this, and then we use it as the cover to Venom. So then I drew it much larger than this panel here, and then we shrunk it down and put it in there. So
Yeah.
That's why, yeah.
Sweet.
And I don't know if we got into it. Is it in Venom or is it in this? I think there was a line that was originally in this where Rex said what his code name was, what his Venom name was, and him and his symbiote, they were called Tyrannosaurus Rex, which
I think
is
that was
a fucking
that was probably
metal
in
name for a
Venom,
symbiote.
I don't think that we had that.
Yeah, I don't think we had it in here. Little trivia. Rex's new last name, Strickland, comes from Strickland Propane from King of the Hill, which is based on the town that I grew up in.
All right.
I came from a little. I come from a little town in Texas called Garland. King of the Hill takes place in Arlen, and it's just fucking like that. So it's a little tip of my hat to my Texas heritage.
Sweet.
So should we get into these trucks?
Get into the trucks. Eddie's facing down.
Yeah, Ryan, this was not how this scene was in the script. Do you want to tell them how you just bitched out on this and didn't draw it the way that it was supposed to?
Well, Donnie wanted the symbiote to be invisible, to be in invisible mode and like wrap up Eddie, and so you see Eddie there, against the truck, but then there's like clearly a shield around him, and
So
the truck
basically-
smashing into it.
Yeah, so it would be like Eddie's just standing there, and then when the truck hits him, the truck would wrap around the invisible form of Venom's symbiote around him, and then it would uncloak to show that Venom was there. And Ryan called me, and he was like, I ain't got time for this shit. It was like, I don't have time for this shit.
I showed him a layout that sucked, and we were like, I don't know, like there's got to be something better. And then essentially we just we got to the point where we were like, well, maybe he should just be in his costume. And then
Right.
we just changed it so that he starts his eyes turn black on the previous page, and the symbiote starts coming out, and then then the next page is the best Venom spread of all time until
August
comes out.
Yeah, until August. There's a spread in we're such cocky dicks that Absolute Carnage #1 features an homage to Venom #1. we homage our own spread, but like a million times bigger and more metal. But yeah, I mean, that's one of those things. Honestly, his instinct was right, because that's a scene that would work really well in a movie. Like a live action scene, that invisibility thing would work. Sometimes shit works better in different mediums, and sometimes the writer's eye isn't as strong as the artist eye. And,
Well, I think we both saw it. We saw the layout, and we were just like, something about this.
Yeah, it didn't click the way that it's kind of a motion based pivot, right? And you just don't have that in this.
And we need it. This is Venom #1. You need this shot. You need this big moment. So
this is I will cop to this. I wrote a book at Dark Horse with my friend Daniel Warren Johnson that was about it's called The Ghost Fleet. It was about a fleet of Black Ops truckers, and that series got canceled. It was supposed to be 12 issues. It only lasted 8. But in the issues that never got published, there was this idea of secret highways that ran underneath the country. Like they would haul stuff, and there was just going to be this big action sequence in one of these underground highways with the fleet of trucks. And I just completely scrapped it and put it in Venom. So this is a little bit of my Marvel work crushing my Dark Horse work about how I got pissed off about it. And so Venom crushing this this canceled series that has always been a sore spot with me and Daniel.
It's funny also, you mentioned Daniel. I showed him this layout, and he was the one who was like, have his feet digging into the
that makes so much sense. That's such a Daniel thing.
Yeah, so I added that
rising concrete
thanks to him.
Yeah,
that's it's fucking awesome. Like if somebody said, hey, you know that scene in the Avengers where Bruce Banner hulks out and then punches the alien ship right in the face?
Yeah.
If somebody said, what if they did that, but it was Venom and it was like somehow even cooler? This is fucking it right here. The comics translation of the badassery that scene holds, I think, in the first Avengers film, is right here. It's dope. But what happens next?
Well,
Nothing.
hold on. I wanted to see if I had
It's the end of the book.
the script for this double page splash, because I can't imagine that it says much. But I, again, whatever it is, because like, if I was writing this for Ryan now, I'd be like, oh, dude, this is so crazy. I'm looking at the script page for these 2 pages, and it's like a paragraph long. Nowadays, I would write this as Venom stops a big-ass fucking truck, make it look
Right.
dope. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
But then now it's like fucking 2 paragraphs. Why? I fucking overwrote the shit out of this thing. But yeah, what happens next? This is where shit gets real. Because, like, honestly, the entire book is just kind of a bunch of zigs and zags and feints to get us here. And as you can see, as we were talking about Frank and Frank's storytelling, look at how when that double page spread happens, how the entire palette of the book changes and it turns into a horror book. You see that? How things start getting really hot and things start getting really weird. And as you start turning pages, you see that. You see how it just keeps on getting weirder and more out there, and like they stop being it's called local colors. Like local colors mean that like you would color if my shirt's black, you would color it black, right? But then you start to go to these like more expressive stuff where none of these colors are actually what they would actually be, but they're storytelling. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
And so Frank just starts going buck wild because the book starts turning into what it really is, which is a horror book. So yeah, what happens is, fucking Venom opens up a truck and hell is inside of it. These men have already been corrupted. They're already dead. They're already kind of infected by Null. There's something else inside there, inside that truck that was being transported, that was opened up. Got one of my favorite 2-panel sequences when the symbiote bows down, and then there's that kind of like that gunslinger shot of the tentacles forming into that blade. It's so fucking dope and creepy. And then Eddie turns into Sabretooth for a panel. And then and this caption here is I realized too late that I'm screaming into a void. Which is literally true if you go back and read it after you know who Null is. He's literally screaming into the Lord of the Void. And so Eddie gets fucking dealt with. He gets stabbed through his chest to the greatest sound effect of all time, splutch.
I had to stab somebody in the chest so that I could hear what it sounded like.
Splutch. Yeah, that's
It
just
was
research.
splutch.
You can write that off on your taxes.
Yeah.
And then, so yeah, these men, they go back into the truck. They open something. And when they come back out, they're fucking dead. And their symbiotes have been ripped clean off of them. And those symbiotes combine with whatever was being held captive in that. And we turn the page to reveal what that thing was. And it was the motherfucking Grendel. It was a fucking dragon.
And that was supposed to be a page turn, but it
wasn't. It's one of
page turn.
the most fucking infuriating things. It was, it was a 30-page issue, which are always tricky because you have to put ads in them and shit. And in the trade, it's a page turn, which is great.
Yeah, they fixed it.
They fixed it in the trade. Well, because I wrote it as a page turn. Like a page 30 should always be a page turn, right? And I had to sacrifice a few other page turns. Like the original, the splash page of Venom being infected, the first time we ever see it, that's not a page turn in the book because I had to write it that way to get that page 30 page turn. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Just like the pagination of the book, right? And then due to ads and all kinds of things like that, and no one's fault. It's this shit happens all the time. And again, 30 pages are tough. That that God is coming big splash page ended up being on the right side of the page, just like there in plain sight, which is a bummer. But I mean, it still worked. People still liked it.
It's still cool as hell.
And that's the only original page of Venom that I own. And I don't even own the pencils. I only own the inks. I own this page, the first appearance of the dragon.
Hear that, Ryan? Your pencils weren't good enough. You needed the inks too.
Oh no!
That's a whole story.
That's bullshit. Here's the thing. It is considered somewhat customary for the writer of a book to somewhere along the line receive a gift from the artist of a original page. It is considered somewhat of a custom. Now, what happened? And Ryan's rolling his eyes at me for those who are just listening. What happened was, because this is the best book in the whole world, every fucking issue of this book art sold complete, which means that a buyer came and bought every page before it ever came out. So Ryan couldn't give me a page because I wanted Ryan to go make that money, son. What happened was a collector came by my table and had me sign original art from it. And I was looking at it, and I just told this guy, I was like, man, I got to tell you, man, it makes me really upset that you own these. Like, it makes me really upset that you have these, and I don't have a single page of this ever. And Ryan, you and I have never told this story.
Right.
So I made him a deal. He was like, if you will draw me, he said this to me. He was like, if you will draw me into the book, I'll give you the inks from this page. And I was like, done. And what I did not do was ask Ryan if that was okay. Because I just called Ryan later and sent him a bunch of pictures of a random dude at a con. And we're just like, hey, you got to draw this guy in. Because that's the only way I'm ever going to get a page. And so that guy is the cop in the free comic book day issue.
Yep.
Wow.
The second page or whatever. That's that
and
guy.
now he owns all of the free comic book day art. He bought the whole thing.
Bought it all, and that's why I don't have any of that shit either. Ryan
Come
keeps
on,
on.
guy.
Ryan sends me dope pencils all the time. Today he sent me a cover to Absolute Carnage #4, and this is my life now. I was like on the phone earlier today. I was like, dude, that page is so dope. Can I have that? And he goes, yeah, no. It's just like it's a joke now that I'll never get to own a single
You'll
page
get
of Venom.
something.
I do actually own the first drawing of the way that Carnage's new design from Absolute Carnage. I own the first drawing that you ever did.
Yeah, I did it at the retreat that we did.
Yeah, because you were sitting next to me and I took it off of your lap.
You just said, "This is mine now.
I'll have
I'm
this
taking
one.
this."
God damn it! I'm sorry. I'm such a fan of you. Pardon me. I'm sorry. I love too hard, Ryan.
You know, I resent all fans.
All of
I want
them.
that out there.
So that's Venom #1. I know. I was just kind of doing like the quick action beats. Ryan, did you want to talk about any kind of specific like art scenes or shit that you like in here?
No, I'm really proud of it. I going back through it, that was really fun for me because I mean I haven't looked at this in a while, and you know I just completed a 60-page issue that nearly broke me.
Yeah.
And just seeing this, I feel like this is all worth it. All this work is worth it. This is a great book. Frank and JP are doing unbelievable work.
Yeah.
This kind of like got me more stoked. So this is really
Yeah,
cool.
kind of right. Yeah, it's totally. I mean, we never do this. Like we're always looking forward. You know,
we're always hard on ourselves. So this is pretty neat.
Yeah, because here's the thing that people I seem to get about Ryan and I is that we always call all of our shit dope, and we always like pat each other on the back so much because we are joking. Because we are so concerned about the craft of the book, and we do actually we do want it to be perfect, and we work our ass off because we know how much this character means to everybody and how much it means to us.
Right.
And the majority of us being, you know, quote unquote cocky and all that stuff is we're Venom heads and Venom maniacs just like everybody else is, and we want everyone to feel like we're really into it just as much as they are. But we do labor over this stuff, and we're very critical of ourselves.
Well,
and,
I would have the worst Twitter feed on the planet if I went on there and said what I was actually thinking. Like,
right.
Guys, I'm really scared. I don't know if you're going to like this.
Because that's the thing, though, Ryan, right? Is that what fans don't hear are like the long phone calls of, you calling me anguishing over a page, or me calling you and being like, the scene's not fucking working and I don't know how to make it work and this sucks, and that is a testament to how this creative team works and stuff, is that Ryan and I always have each other's backs, even when I have to tell Ryan that, like, nah, son, that's trash, you got to redo that. Or Ryan has to call me and say, like, that scene's not, it's garbage. You're writing garbage. Don't do that. So yeah, we take it seriously. We're just real cocky about it.
Hey, you heard it here first, folks, on Ryan Stegman and Donny Cates. Everybody uses humor as a defense mechanism, even your favorite comic creators.
Yeah.
Well, hey, that was a fucking awesome director's commentary right there. I think people are going to love that.